Kristen, and you're listening to Podcast and Amplify, a podcast for women entrepreneurs who want to amplify their voice and brand through podcasting and grow a wildly successful business. I'm the executive producer and host of 2 shows and an entrepreneur, and I love helping women grow their visibility, mindset, and business to the next level. Each week, I share tips on how to launch and leverage your podcast, and I'm bringing on the very best business leaders to give you advice on how to build your business empire. Let's amplify your voice and business. Hey listeners, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Kristen, and today I want to talk about the 3 common mistakes that people make before starting a podcast. So let's dive in. Number 1, people think they need to buy expensive tools and they'll go all in on like a $200 microphone, get the pop filter, get the sound panels. And these things are all great to have, but they're not need to haves, right? Having a nice microphone is ideal, but you only need to spend like $100 on your microphone. And I use an Audio-Technica microphone. It's not one of those cute Instagrammable microphones, but it does the job. If you were going to make an investment, that is the one thing that I would recommend you spend your money on. But you don't need like a fancy studio. You do want to record in a room that does not echo, that has soft surfaces. That's why you hear people recording in closets, because the carpet, the clothes muffle a lot of sound. But other than that, most of us have some sort of Zoom or way that we can record ourselves already. So there are really low barriers to entry when it comes to starting your own show. Okay, so the second mistake that I see a lot is that people don't get really clear on why they want to start a podcast. They are excited about the idea of starting a podcast, but there comes a lot of overwhelm when that idea is really cloudy. It's not clear. It's not specific. There aren't measurable metrics. And so that's why I encourage everyone to build a strong foundation for your podcast, just like you've done with your business, and get really specific on why it is that you're starting your podcast. Figure out how having a podcast fits into your overall marketing strategy, how it aligns with the mission for your business and your why. And actually have a one-on-one session where I help you figure out just that. It's called the Overwhelmed to Aligned Intensive. I work with you one-on-one and we get into it. I ask you the questions that need to be asked around why are you doing this, so that you can have a really strong foundation, a really strong vision for your podcast that you can get behind. Because we started businesses because we want to be excited about what we're doing. And all of my clients, when we get to the end and they have that clear vision, that is such a game changer for them. And it's such a great launching point for then creating this podcast that they just love. So that's number 2, get clear on why you're starting a podcast. And the third mistake is I see a lot of people who haven't clearly defined their message and their voice yet. Because you will be sharing your message using your voice, it's really important that you work on owning your voice, claiming your voice, owning your message. Because what you don't want to have happen is to start a podcast and then have people listen to you and not really feel convinced about what you're talking about. And to not really sense that you have a strong conviction behind what you're talking about. You don't want people tuning in and feeling on some level like they're not convinced because you're not convinced, because you're not confident about what you're saying. So that's why I encourage people who haven't yet gotten really clear on their message, who it is that they want to serve, that they kind of figure that out before they start a podcast, because being behind this microphone and being able to speak directly into the ears of your potential clients or your soul listeners is such an opportunity. And you really want to be able to communicate with passion, conviction, your message, because that's what's really going to get those listeners coming back again and again. That's what's going to sell them on you. So, those are the three common mistakes that I see people make before they start a podcast. As I mentioned, I have the Overwhelmed to Aligned one-on-one intensive where we work on clarifying your vision for your podcast and helping you to own your voice and understand what you bring to the table, because you are that secret sauce to your podcast. So I love helping entrepreneurs to hone in on their unique voice and to discover what makes them so special and how they can bring that to their podcast. So if you're interested at all, I'd love to work with you. I will pop a link in the show notes. And that's all I have for this week. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe so you don't miss a show. And rating and reviewing this podcast is the best way to help support us. Always remember, your voice and what you have to offer is needed in the world. Until next week, take care.